Hey guys, it's Georgia B back again for day 11 of the Indonesia and Cambodia study tour. And you are in for a roller coaster today. This is what I was waiting for. Day 11, visiting the Angkor Wat. I was still extremely weak and some serious discomfort as well still. But there was no way that I was missing this. I took everything that I had, Panadol, Gastrostop, Hydralite, you name it, in order to get through the day. We were up at 4 a.m. to leave for Angkor Wat at 4:30. We took tuk-tuks to the temple, and because I missed yesterday, this was my first ride on a tuk-tuk, and I loved it. Wasn't exactly great for my stomach as I was sitting backwards, but it was a lot of fun, and the breeze really cooled us down. We eventually got to the Angkor Wat in time for sunrise. Unfortunately, it was a bit overcast, but it did clear up a bit, enough to get some decent pictures. And it was absolutely breathtaking. I was in awe. I've always loved ancient history, so seeing Angkor Wat in real life was something that I will never forget. The detail in the temples was just incredible. There was not a single stone that hadn't been beautifully hand carved. As much as I loved it, the day was tough. The temple was filled with stairs. One of the staircases was extremely steep and probably 50 steps, which doesn't sound like much to most people, but to me, who is still very weak and has lived with bad knees for the last 5 years, it was bloody tough. I managed to get up them though, which was huge for me. While going on a tour through the temple, I did have to sit down every so often to catch my breath. Or rest my legs, but I did get through it, and I'm really proud of myself that I did. After the tour of the Angkor Wat, we went across the road for some light brunch, where we tried the traditional iced coffee. Now, I bloody love Farmers Union iced coffee, as you can see here. I've got one. Yeah, I love iced coffee so much, but this was awful, absolutely awful. Some of the others enjoyed it enough to get seconds, but I could only handle one sip. It was too much. I could not do it. After brunch, we got back on the tuk-tuks and visited 2 more temples. You'd think that once you'd seen one, you'd seen them all, but in reality, they were all really different. Angkor Wat was huge and just incredibly detailed. The second temple was smaller, but it had 49 towers, each hand carved. And the third one was also really detailed. However, it was more natural in the respect that it was just covered in vines and had trees growing out everywhere. So some of the temple had fallen apart because of the size of the trees and the roots that were growing through it. But they were all just so beautiful. I was also really excited about the monkeys that seemed to only inhabit around the temples, and also the elephants. The elephants were sad in the fact that they were being used as tourist attractions and being ridden, but they were cool to see. Following the temple tours, we made our way to Rex's village for lunch. Rexa Him is the author of the book that Wayne gave us to read, entitled The Tears of My Soul. Rexa wrote this book to tell a story from the Cambodian killing fields, where he witnessed all of his family murdered by the Khmer Rouge. He himself was also close to death several times. So half of his book talked about his experiences from when he was in the Khmer Rouge, from when they were first forced from their homes in Phnom Penh, to trying to survive the horror of the killing fields and watching his family perish. This half of the book was really tough to read. It was very emotional and very, very confronting. The second half of the book discusses his journey to forgiveness in the time following the reign of the Khmer Rouge, and how he eventually found Christ and learned to forgive. And I highly recommend everyone to read it as well. It's a fantastic book. Unfortunately, Rexa wasn't at the village at the time we were there. However, we were able to FaceTime him. I was glad that I'd finished the book before hearing from him. Otherwise, it would have made it a lot harder to listen to him without getting emotional. Reading his story prior allowed me to not be hit as hard, though it was still tough to hear him actually talk about his struggles. We were given the opportunity to ask Rexa some questions as well, but no one did. I think we all had questions that we could have asked, but we were either too emotionally spent to ask them or just didn't know how to ask. Because, I mean, he seemed like he was okay, but you didn't want to risk offending him or like making anyone upset and that sort of thing. So, I mean, I definitely had questions that I could have asked, but I just didn't want to be rude, and I was pretty emotionally spent anyway. Yeah, Rex's story was heartbreaking, but I believe that everyone should know his story and know about the Khmer Rouge. There's also a great movie on Netflix, which is based on a true story from the Killing Fields as well, called First They Killed My Father, which I highly recommend as well if you don't have time to read Rex's book. But you definitely should know about it. After lunch, we were challenged to a game of hockey by the local kids. I was still not well, so I couldn't participate, unfortunately, but the group really rallied together in this heat and humidity and had a fun game with the kids. They absolutely demolished us, but considering we were first-timers, still did pretty well to keep up. After the game, we headed back to the hotel for a few hours to have a nice swim to cool down before going across the road to a restaurant for dinner, which was really nice. After a swim and some food, I was feeling a bit better, so I decided to go out shopping in Pub Street with a few of the others to buy some souvenirs for my family and friends back home. I even tried bartering, which was fun. I don't think I was very good at it, but I did try, and it did work most of the time, so I took that as a win. Yeah, so that was day 11. It was tough, but it was worth it. So tomorrow's video, I was just going to talk about day 12, but I reckon we might do extra as well. We'll see how we go. So yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.